Welcome to Mama Cat's Home. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that I have never talked to you about before. Not really, anyway. I mean, I've kind of talked about it. I've talked about my children and stuff like that, but I've never talked about anything like this. But I feel like I want to. Maybe to help those that are behind me, that have younger children than I do or whatever. I'm going to tell you a little story. And I'm going to tell you why that I think it's important. I'm going to try not to take forever. So, I'm going to get started. I'm going to talk to you about parenting and how it will never be finished. At least, if you're a good parent, I feel like you will never be done parenting your child. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I think this. Okay. Let's go back close to a year ago when our son, who is now 21, he was 20 at the time, he started looking for his first car. Yes, he was that age looking for his first car because that's just how things are. Anyway, he started looking. And at first, it was just, looking online and stuff like that. It was not any kind of headache or trouble or anything like that. And then, he found the one he thought was his dream car. He found the car that was the perfect thing, he thought. So I said, okay. Me not thinking, okay, we'll go look at it. It was here in town. It was, a simple phone call and go look at it. So, we set up an appointment with the guy. It was an individual selling it. And we went to go look at it. I learned that day I had made some mistakes in my parenting. I had not guided my son in certain areas of life. And, I started making mental notes of what I needed to do as soon as we were away from this guy and this car. First of all, the guy was super nice. And I'm pretty sure he was young. And he probably thought he had something that was better than it was or something. I don't know. Either way, I knew very quickly that car was not the car. I knew that it was not worth the money. It was just not the car. But my son didn't know that. He saw it. He saw the dream car. And the first thing he's going to say is, I want it. I've got the money. All this stuff. Well, first of all, my opinion, if someone is selling something on Craigslist or something like that, they are not giving you the rock bottom price. So you can always say, hey, well, what is the lowest you'll take? That's my opinion. My son didn't know this. Also, my son didn't know that you just straight up say, I want this, when you haven't discussed this with someone who knows more. Now, if he was older and he had dealt with this a lot, he wouldn't have to come to his parents or anyone else. He wouldn't have to discuss this with anyone at all. But because he was 20 years old and he had never bought a car and he knew nothing about vehicles much other than, you have to make sure the brakes work, the oil is changed, you check the transmission fluid, all those types of maintenance types of things. He knew nothing about purchasing a vehicle. So I had to make mental notes and say, I need to talk to him about this, that, and the other. And I did. And I told him, you don't go and you don't, start saying you're going to buy something yet. Because, first of all, I did say, I cannot say yes or no about this car. You have to talk to your daddy, and he wasn't there. I did say that, but that didn't register with my son. He didn't think about the fact that he didn't need to, say yes yet. Which he didn't say yes because I took over and I pretty much was the one talking anyway because he did let me talk most through most of it because I knew more, and I have purchased a lot of cars in my life. So anyway, fast forward a little. We did not get that car, of course. It was not worth it. Nice person, just not worth the money at all. Okay, fast forward. Months and months this goes by. We're looking. Me and my husband have gone to the point that we are riding on weekends for hours a day trying to see if we can find him a vehicle. We are just constantly searching. And every time we look at something and it is not the one, it is not worth the money or whatever reason why, it's just not it. It's not represented the way it actually is or something like that. There is anger that builds up in my son. He is annoyed. He is just like, he's pretty much just a typical human. If he doesn't get what he wants and he is paying for it, he's going to be annoyed. So we have to sit him down and we have to discuss things and we have to, explain to him why it's not a good idea. And a lot of times his anger was directed towards me because I'm the one that always gives him what he wants. That's just who I am. And his whole entire life he has gotten what he wanted. Now, mind you, my children, first of all, don't ask for much at all. And they have always worked for things. So there's always been conditions. If you do this, yes, you will get this. It's not like we just give him something just because he wants it. That's not it. My children work for what they get. I mean, my son worked for this vehicle. He saved his money and things like that. It's not like we just went out and just purchased him a $1 million vehicle or whatever. So please don't get me wrong about that. My children are not spoiled rotten brats. They are spoiled in some ways. They are very blessed children, I'll put it that way. They've never really asked for much though. They just don't. They don't ask for name brand. They don't ask for name brand clothes. I mean, we do buy them name brand clothes, but they don't care if it's knockoffs. They don't care if they're just not flashy. I have to have the newest, latest of everything. In fact, my son has had the same cell phone for 5 years, and me and his sister, is that the right proper word to say? Is his sister and I don't know, English. We're trying to get him to get a new phone because his phone is really bad. I mean, it's really bad. And he has to have it for work. But anyway, my point is, my children are not those children who get everything. But we have always tried to give them things they deserved. I put it that way. Okay, so anyways, months and months and months of that. Of, talking to him and teaching him about why this is good, why this is not good, what this means, what that means. And then we get to just a few days before his birthday. He really wants a car before his birthday. He really does, before he turns 21. Because part of this is he's almost 21 and he doesn't even have a vehicle. I know there are millions of people who are that age who don't have vehicles. There are people my age who don't have vehicles. But that's their choice. He wanted independence. He wanted, to feel more grown up. And he did make the mistake of telling friends and co-workers and his boss and different people things. And they even said things to me. I mean, his friends said things to me, and I had to explain to them, I'm not letting him buy junk. I'm not letting him buy something that's going to do nothing but be a money pit. I want him to have something dependable. So, I had to explain about how that my husband and son's shifts are and how that they don't work in a way that we can just take off and just go look at a vehicle 10 hours away, that kind of thing. There was a lot of learning, I'll put it that way, on my part and on my son's part. So we'll fast forward to the weekend of his birthday. My husband and I mean, we could tell he was getting that our son was getting upset, annoyed, maybe even a little depressed. I mean, he was just showing signs of anger and things like that, but not anything that, like, directed towards anyone. It was just like he was done with this whole situation. He was done with looking. He didn't care what he got. He just wanted something. And I had talked him down from that several times because, I kept telling him, have patience and you will have something good. And I would tell him, you don't need anything right now because I can still drive you to work or whatever, And I would tell him, have patience and the one is going to be out there. Well, we fast forward to that and to the weekend of his birthday. And we go on his birthday and we look at this vehicle that is one that he wanted. I couldn't believe we found it for the price we found it for. It's in great shape. The guy that owned it took awesome care of it. I mean, it's the car. It's the one. And we go and we look at it and test drive it and all this stuff. And then there's a problem with the title. The person who actually owns it isn't there at the house. It's the man's father. So he's not there. He's in another town far away visiting a sick friend. So we can't get the title signed even though we have the money in our pocket. And it's the one we want. And we learned that, okay, this is another little bump. But this time, my son took this little bump a complete different way. Because I immediately said, we'll just come back tomorrow. We'll come back in the morning. We'll pick up the car. You get all that stuff done tonight, and we will pick up the vehicle, and it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Well, then that guy and his wife almost get into an argument because he wants her to get his son home and things like that. Well, we're like, it's cool. It's fine. We're patient. We're good. And we end up getting the car the next morning. And I learned there are some things I didn't teach my son. Because we had not purchased a vehicle in so long ourselves, he didn't know the process of getting insurance on a vehicle. He didn't know the process of getting the title or the title in his name. He didn't know the process of registering the car, and he also didn't know that since he paid cash, nobody could take this. So there were some things that I taught him yesterday. It was just me, because his dad was at work. I taught him yesterday about this, and he learned some new things. And I realized in that moment when he learned these things, and I'm telling you, this man, he's a man, so happy to learn that nobody can take his vehicle, that as long as he's responsible and he takes care of it and he keeps it registered and he keeps insurance on it, he can drive it anytime he wants. He learned as long as he takes care of it, it's his. And now he has it, and he's so excited. And I'll put a picture up, but it's just like the happiest time. But then after all of that, and we went and got all those things done, got home, and I was thinking, I'm not done being a parent, even though I thought my kids were grown. I'm done. I was grieving that part of my life. I was grieving that my children were almost not, my daughter is 19. Soon I won't have a teenager. I'll have two 20-somethings, And I have been thinking about myself, what am I going to do now? I don't have any children anymore that are, I have to take care of. But I learned through this process, I'm always older than my kids, and I've always done it before them. So, I bought cars before them. I went through, just like I went through puberty before them. I went through high school before them. I went through dating and all that. I've gone through everything else before them, which neither one of them have dated ever still. They don't want to date until they find someone that they are interested in marrying. They don't want to date until they're ready for marriage. But anyway, that's a total different situation. But I realized I'll never be done because I'm always older than my kids. I've always done it before them. Like, I got married before them, so I've gone through a lot of the struggles of marriage before them. So that means when they come to me, I will have advice, stuff like that. So I'm not done being a parent. I've had children before them, so I've gone through, which my children were not much struggle at all. There were things that were scary, like when my daughter broke her leg, or my son broke his arm, or when my son was having asthma attacks, or when my daughter started losing hair and we couldn't figure out why. There are things that we went through that were scary, but my children weren't hard. There were difficult days with school. We did homeschool. There were all those things, but I realized my children were very easy to raise. But they're not done, and I'm not done. And so I guess the reason why I wanted to do this video, and I know it's turned out to be a lot longer than I expected, but I wanted to encourage you and help you to remember you're not finished with whatever it is you're doing. Whatever task God has put in front of you, you're not finished until you're done and you're actually, dead. That's when you're done. Because I'll never be finished being a parent, because everything that they do, I've already done. Well, maybe most everything anyway. Like getting married, having children. By the time that they have grandchildren, I'll have already had grandchildren. All those things. So always remember, you're not finished. Parenting is a lifelong thing, and it can be an absolutely wonderful thing. And even through the struggles, because this is the biggest struggle we've ever had with our son. And it wasn't terrible or anything, but it was hard. Part of it was really hard. And there were tears, and there were fusses, and there were raised voices, and there were times when we had to calm, or I had to calm myself, because I would be like, hold on now. You gotta remember. There were some struggles. This was the biggest struggle we've ever had, parenting. But if that is the biggest struggle we'll ever have, I have zero problems, because it turned out great. It turned out wonderful. So anytime you're in the struggles, remember it can turn out great, and it will if you just keep holding on and you keep the patience and you keep fighting for what you know is good. Because we could have let him buy a piece of junk, and then it would have been a horrible struggle from then on. Know that your parenting will never be finished. So if you are at the stage that I'm at, or you're getting to that stage where your teenagers are almost 20 or 21 or whatever like that, whenever you get to those points in your life and you're thinking, what am I going to do now? They don't need me. Babies always need you. I guess that's just what I want to say. Your babies always need you. If you have any questions, if I made no sense, or if you just want to comment, leave it down below. I know this is a weird type of video, but I just felt like I needed to say some of this stuff. I know I went on and on and on, but it's the only way I know how to talk. So, anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, don't take any wood nickels, and be sweet.